Last night's Texas Senate primary was something else. It was like watching two completely different movies at the same time. For one party, you had a clear path forward. But for the other, oh, that fight is just getting started. So let's break down this tale of two very different races.
Okay, so let's get right to it. The biggest headline, the real shocker of the night, came from the Republicans. I mean, we're talking about John Cornyn, a long-serving incumbent, a real titan in Texas politics, and he could not lock down his party's nomination. Nope, he's being forced into a runoff, which tells you everything you need to know. There is a serious fight brewing inside the Texas GOP. And right there, that's the core story of this entire election. It's a study in contrasts. On the Republican side, the battle for the nomination, it is far from over. It's going to round two. But then you look at the Democrats, and well, the picture couldn't be any clearer. They've got their person, they're already looking ahead to the big show in November.
All right, so let's dig into that Republican showdown first. I mean, this was the race everyone had their eyes on, and believe me, it absolutely delivered on the drama.
And when I say drama, I mean it. Look at these numbers. The margin was just razor thin. You have the incumbent, John Cornyn, barely, and I mean barely, edging out his main challenger, Attorney General Ken Paxton, by just 1 percentage point. 1 point! Neither of them could get the momentum they needed to pull away, and a big reason for that was Wesley Hunt. He had a really strong third-place showing and basically played spoiler, capturing just enough of the vote to keep anyone from getting that clean win. So this all comes down to one magic number: 50%. In Texas, you've got to win more than half the vote in a primary to clinch the nomination. It's the law. If nobody crosses that 50% line, well, the race is not over.
And that's exactly what happened here. It triggers what's called a runoff election. It's basically a second election, a head-to-head showdown between just the top two candidates. So for the Republicans, it all comes down to this: a one-on-one fight, John Cornyn versus Ken Paxton. Okay, so now let's flip over to the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, where, let me tell you, the story was completely different. While the Republicans are gearing up for another brawl, the Democrats had a much, much quieter and more decisive night.
And I mean, the difference is just night and day. Look at this. State Representative James Talarico didn't just squeak by, he won with a clear majority. He pulled in over 53% of the vote. So by blowing past that magic 50% mark, he completely avoided a runoff. He locked up the nomination on election night, plain and simple.
And pretty quickly, the call came in from the NBC News decision desk, making it all official. Think about that. While everyone was still crunching numbers and figuring out the runoff details for the GOP, the Democratic race already had a projected winner. A nice, clean, definitive result.
But you know, the statewide numbers, they only tell you so much. To really get what's going on here, you have to zoom in. We need to look at the map, at the county-by-county data, because that's where you see where each of these candidates' real power base is.
And when you do, it's pretty fascinating. If we just look at a few counties here, you see this geographic split right away. On the Republican side, Paxton is cleaning up in places like Andrews and Aransas, but Cornyn takes Angelina County. And it's not just a GOP thing. Even though Talarico won the whole state for the Democrats, his opponent, Jasmine Crockett, was totally dominant in some spots, like grabbing a huge 62% in Angelina County. It just goes to show you the different bases of support these candidates are working with.
All right, so the primaries are done, because the two parties are on totally different schedules. So step one is that Republican runoff. The GOP has to get through that first before they even know who their nominee is going to be. Only then can they figure out who's facing James Talarico in the fall. And what that really means is, for the Republicans, there's still another expensive and probably pretty nasty primary fight ahead. Meanwhile, the Democrats, they get a huge head start. They can start pulling together their resources and focusing all their energy on November.
And you know, that really sets up the big question that's now hanging over all of Texas politics. Who actually has the advantage here? Is this bruising runoff going to create a stronger, more battle-tested Republican nominee? Or is it just going to give the Democrats a critical head start on that long road to November? That right there is the story we're all going to be watching.